Undead Lizardmen. Yes, you heard that right. This is the Relics of Azatlatlan custom faction mod, which turns the Lizardmen roster into a new faction of undead skellies. And I'm super excited to show it off to y'all. Before we dive into these units, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. I really appreciate it. We're starting with the Lords and Heroes, but I have 3 key pieces of information I want to give to you. First, you see the Undead here on the screen. This is the attribute for every single unit in this faction, so you know that. Also, the Warhammer 3 did just update recently, so I have not checked if this has affected this mod at all, so just go into it with that caveat. And then lastly, the campaign side to this, I didn't show it off here, but apparently the beginning of the campaign is very difficult. And sorry for kind of focusing on those 3 points. They were just really important to get across. Now we're at the Relic Skink Chief here, and you've seen his mounts in the beginning. We're going to show each one so you kind of get an idea of the undead look for them. I'll be honest, I really love the idea behind this mod. I never thought of just seeing like these skelly lizardmen, and it's really, really cool to see this like just in general. I like the idea. We're now at the red crested version and his 3 mounts here. And overall, again, I went through the whole mod, and the only unit I seen was actually this mount, and then later the flying cavalry of the same exact unit. This is the only one I seen that was glitchy. As you can see, the flashing, fluttering on the wings. It does that even on the flying cavalry unit, and it's the only one I found. We're now at the Relic Saurus Scar Veteran, and again, just looking menacing there with his armor, even more so up on the cold one. Overall, just a really big fan of this overall look and design. I'll tell you what, the Carnosaur here, like, it looks so different seeing it just as a skeleton. We're now at the Relic Skink Priest of Beasts. He's a wizard, and he has a lot of mounting options, as you're about to see. A lot of flavor here on what you choose or what you want him to go into. But again, these all 3 just look really, really sick. The gold and the ornaments actually stand out even more on the skellies versus the regular lizardman version. Now at the Relic Skink Oracle, and also if you look at the mod page on this, the modder said he spent 3 years making this mod. Very impressive. That's a lot of dedication for a single mod. I think many of us would have given up trying to make something this extensive. And I had to do the Croxagore some justice here because it has some pretty good combat with the bones. We're going to see that coming up. But again, though, like the green, the gold, and everything, they pop so much more on the skellies versus the regular lizardmen. I really do like that. We're now going to dive into the infantry section, and I did try to show these off pretty well. They're going to be fighting against lizardmen in combat, and it is a lot of movement, so hopefully I've shown these off as best I can. For being a low tier unit, this is one of my favorite units in the mod because I love the glowing eyes with the armor and their great axe or their hammer you can see in their hand. But I mean, it just looks so good together. I really do like this unit a lot. Another great Relic Lizardman unit here. We have the Relic Chameleon Stalkers. And also, guys, let me know down in the comments, out of all the skellies you see here, which one's your favorite and what do you think about this mod? Okay, we've now got a handful of Relic Saurus warriors coming up here. We got the Relic Saurus with spears. Again, no armor really on these guys. A little bit of gold, a little bit of plating, but not very much. And they have their just regular spear on them. But again, still look really sick. I really wouldn't mind if he incorporated maybe other, like maybe new mod units that are skelefied. Maybe something that other modders have worked on, like Lost Calm Jurassic, for example. We've now gotten to these Saurus warriors here with spears, with shielding and spears, and then we're going to have them with mace and spear. And again, pretty much you're just adding the shield on there. I mean, I couldn't imagine the amount of work to pretty much get these to like look right with the skellies and no skin. I mean, I just imagine it was super in-depth, and I give a lot of props to the modder coming up with this great idea to think of this. And then obviously we switched over to the mace version here, which just changes out the weapon. Talk about looking menacing. The Relic Temple Guards, oh man, that mixture of just armored up with the skelly look, oh man, it's pretty awesome. I really do like this a lot. And this is honestly more scary than regular Lizardmen. Got us a few ranged attack infantry units here. We have the Relic Skink Skirmishers, which I will say this though, like comparing, so like the sources, they kind of look almost how I would expect, but looking at the skinks, I'm like, wow, they look a lot different than I expected to see them as a skeleton. So I don't know, it kind of makes me think about today's world of how we see dinosaur bones, then we imagine how they look. You know, if I would have seen the skeletons before the Lizardmen faction, I definitely would have probably came up with a whole different look on how I envisioned them. So it's kind of a cool thing to look back and kind of compare that. And then we're ending up with the Relic Chameleon Skinks. So you do have some ranged options still with the Lizardmen, just less range. We're now at the cavalry section. We've got 4 skelly cavalry options for you. And the first one here always throws me off because they're feral cold ones and they're called cold one cavalry, but they're also, you know, monsters. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really odd to just see them in the cavalry section. So I was kind of debating on if I kept them here or not. Next, we move over to the Relic Cold One Riders, which have your mace or sword. You know, you have that short-ranged melee weapon on top of the monster here. And that's your cavalry option. Then you have the one spear rider version where you have a little bit longer reach with a pole arm. Overall, I really like the design of all of these. They look really sick, especially the last one here where you add a lot more, you know, armored up look to them. I mean, it looks very menacing. I really don't know what would be more scary, a regular cold one from Lizardmen or an undead one, because the undead one's never going to get tired. You know what I mean? When it's chasing you. Continuing the cavalry section, we're now moving into the flying cavalry section, which I will admit, just based off experience, I've never been a big fan of flying cavalry. In general, I just tend to not use them as much in my campaign. I do see their usefulness, though, highly, especially if you like that type of unit, if you like hitting the back lines. Out of all of these, the orange ones were the only one that I seen to be buggy or glitchy, and that was through multiple reloads, and nothing I did really changed how it looked. I was running ultimate lighting mod, so that could be an issue with why the orange one maybe looks the way it does, or it could just be how the mod is. But overall, I did like all three of these units here. We're now at the monster section, and we're going to be covering our thick boys right in the beginning. So we have all your flavors of Bastillodons coming up here that you're going to get to see. And it is really cool because, like, you see their skelly underneath, and then you still have their armor plating up top. So, you know, it is part of, like, their skeletal structure. So, like, I guess it would kind of make sense to me to have it like this. So yeah, you've got multiple flavors of these guys, just like you would in Lizardmen. You're going to have them over here. I do think some of this stuff needs to be more attuned for undead. You know, maybe take away some of the Lizardmen from this faction, you know, really start transforming it more to the undead side. And continuing with our thick boys, we have the Stegodon section with multiple flavors of Stegodons coming up. I will say that's my biggest thing I dislike about this mod, is that it does maintain a lot of its Lizardmen passives, abilities, things like that. You know, I think that the passives and the abilities need to be looked at. A lot of this needs to be undeadified. You know, even as simply as like the gold and stuff on this, like maybe change their gold on like their armor and stuff, maybe change it to a cold silver. You know, maybe it needs some more changes to really differentiate just a little bit more from Lizardmen. We're now at the Croxagores, which you can never do wrong with this unit. I mean, every modder that's ever touched Croxagores, I'm gonna like it. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I've always liked the unit, and it doesn't matter what you do to it, I'm still gonna like the unit a lot. But I will say this, I do think on the coloring, I mean, look at like vampire counts. I mean, they're vampires, but they all based from humans, right? But they still have a very different color tone and darker peel to them, and I do think that this faction needs to have a separate coloring system besides just the bone color. I think it does need a like different color for their weapons, their metals. I think it needs to go toward a silverish. Now I've got a few of these ground lizards coming up we're going to show off. We have these Razordons, the hunting pack. Again, I really like the, you know, just pretty much the skeletal structure side to this. You know, the fact that it include the spikes. And then when you go to the salamanders, they don't have that. So they look more like what you'd expect a lizard skeleton to look like. And then you have the larger one with the crest, you know, which I think looks really, really cool. I think if somebody added a custom unit, what I've been waiting for someone to add to Lizardman faction is pretty much a Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. That's what I want added. It's like my dream unit for Lizardmen or this Undead Lizardmen. Now we have the Troglodon, the feral version of it here. Everything's pretty much, I mean, as far as I could tell, it's these units, say, as you can tell, like you compare it to Lizardman unit, there's really nothing majorly different about it. So I do think, like even this, it spits out green. So I think they need to do some coloring changes to differentiate more in combat. And then we have the Relic Feral Carnosaur, which honestly, I feel like the Carnosaur looks a little less scary in the skeleton version compared to the normal skin version. This is a unit that probably no matter how long time goes on, I'm going to think it has the weirdest, buggiest, you know, flight animations for combat. And I did cut them out because, like, it just freezes a lot. I think with the units that attack from the air and stay in the air, that CA is still trying to figure out how to make that look. And we're going to end with the big bad. Everyone loves Dreadsaurians, and we're going to end up showing the last two here. You have the feral version, you know, with nobody up top. And again, just think of a massive alligator skeleton, because honestly, you look at him normal, you wouldn't think alligator as much, or crocodile, but looking at this as a skeleton, it looks just like you would expect in real life. So, and then this is the one with the troops up top and a little bit more ornaments. But I hope everyone can agree. I feel like if you take the gold, change it to a silver, and then maybe change some of the coloring over to like a teal, I think it would look better. Thank you for watching this video, guys. Don't forget to press the like, subscribe button, and comment down below, and also hype the video. I know YouTube just keeps adding in so many steps, right, for every video. But don't forget to do all that, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to catch you in the next mod spotlight, which hopefully is very, very soon.